Five, four, three, two, one. Hi guys, and welcome to another episode with what do we call it now, Gimbal? An hour with?
Yep,
Is
an
that
hour
our
with,
title?
or the
An
hour
hour
show.
with the Hour Show. An hour with John Clark, who was formerly with CSN. And John, when did we talk? It's been months and months, at least I think half a year.
At least half a year. Right.
Right,
I
so,
think it was before QuakeCon, was it not?
It was
In
Yes.
May.
Yeah. May. I would
It
say
was-
May. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so a long time. Can you tell us, when we talked to you the first time, you were with CSN, and you were doing a
Mhm.
lot of work with them. You're not with them anymore. Can you tell us what happened, why you left, and where you're not with them?
Yeah. I didn't actually leave on my own.
Mm.
I was forced out. I guess before I go any further, what I'm going to say now is I'm able to say basically, and it's something that I think is important to share. So that people do understand. I'm not bitter. I guess I was a little hurt because I considered these guys my friends and above my business partners, and that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that I made. And I think I talked about this on my show, and that sometimes we let passion get in the way of business, and I may have done that, and I was blindsided a little bit by it. So. But I just want to make it clear that I'm not bitter. I'm not an ex-employee who's bitter, because I actually think that my opportunities now and just the things that I'm doing, the projects that I'm working on now are greater and of more importance and a better opportunity for me. So I'm not real bitter. I'm a little hurt, but I think it's something that needs to be shared. But basically. QuakeCon in August was a huge undertaking because we were going to do a lot more than what we had done in the past, and it was going to be bigger. There was going to be more to it, and we wanted to do it without losing the shirt off our back. The first QuakeCon that we did, we put in $10,000 of our own money, CSN's money, investment money to get there. It didn't pan out exactly as we had hoped, but then again, this was like the initial, time going to QuakeCon. So you were going to buy, posters and banners and all sorts of things that you're going to need, and then you knew that the second time around you were going to have to purchase those things. So these were things that we were already probably going to purchase. So that was a bulk of the $10,000, and of course travel and everything. What we worked out the second time, and there's not too many things that I'll pat myself on the back about, but this was one of them. I mean, I worked my tail off, at least putting in 12 hours a day, 12 to 14 hours a day working on QuakeCon stuff. There was so much to do. And when we got there, we realized we still had so much more to do. But we started a Kickstarter program, to help bring Maximus Black there from the StarCraft community. We worked with other developers of different games to try to get their games there and to help support what we were doing there, which oddly enough, ID Software was on board with, bringing in other games to the BYOC area. There was just a lot of work to be done. We had to pick and choose the people that we needed there. We had to find casters, some of which were local. Some a couple guys. Three guys that I had started talking to, three different casters, Adam, Alan, and AJ. These guys drove to QuakeCon, slept on a floor basically that we gave them, and worked their tails off. So there was a lot involved with it, and I kind of had in the first time of my life ever on the Friday that things really got started. I had a little bit of a breakdown. It was just so much, and I was so worried about, hitting all of the deliverables and making sure that we were doing everything that we had worked so hard for, and I was just exhausted. I mean, like I said, I was working 12, 14-hour days, and I was pretty exhausted. And there's a reason I tell that story, and I'll get back to it. But so. We worked our tail off. We did a really good job, and we did it we actually made a little bit of money. on it, but that all went back into like travel and things like that. So we kind of, at the end of the day, we completely broke even, and we were able to get into QuakeCon for the second time, which was a really big thing. After QuakeCon, the goal had been set that we were going to use the next, 4 to 6 months to really develop our ladder system and our leagues, which was the vision from the very beginning. When I actually first met with the investors, the idea of the entire website from the beginning was to build a very large user base to infiltrate different communities, different gaming communities, whether they be small or large, get a foothold into those communities for an organization, CSN, to offer gaming competitions, whether it be casuals all the way up to professionals. So building that user base was really important, and at this point we only had bracket systems. We had just gotten done with our group play stuff, which was not really a league module, but it could get there. And so after QuakeCon, the idea was to really start planning and pushing out and finding ways to connect all of the dots from all of the different things that we were doing. I mean, one thing that people would always say is we don't know what CSN is. The community that was playing at our events, they saw us as an event organizer. Then, there was Rachel, and she was doing her media stuff. There was the Violet thing where we had brought Violet on as the CSN in the CSN training camp. So it was a lot that was going on, and now one thing that I was really pushing for, and it was before QuakeCon as well, but I said after QuakeCon this is where it's going to go, and that was we needed to start to connect those dots. We needed to start to connect, the media side of things with what Violet was doing. Even though he was going to Azubu, we still had a presence with him. We needed to create our ladder system, our league system, and really start to get users coming back to our site on a daily basis, because the ultimate goal was to find a way to monetize what the users were doing interacting with the CSN, whether it was premium content, whether it was offering premium-only tournaments where, players paid a small fee, or we charged viewers, $1 for a weekend of HD quality streaming. Just finding ways to create a lot of value and a lot of content at a very nominal fee. That was the entire idea from the very beginning. The investors on board with it and everything. So right after QuakeCon, it was all about that. It was, constantly trying to reach the CEO and the coder, who were basically the partners in CSN. And at that time, I was told I was going to be brought in as a full-time partner. They weren't able to pay me any more than they were, because we were on a very tight budget. I mean, people thought that CSN had money, and that wasn't the case at all. I think we were operating on under $5,000 a month, if not much less than that. And all of our events and pricing from our events was taken care of through the developers. It was my job to go out and talk with developers and other communities. We partnered with other communities to run events, and they took care of the pricing. We just handled all the administrative and marketing side of things. So it was something just broke right after QuakeCon, and admittedly, it became very frustrating for me, and I expressed that frustration through, to a few of my friends, that I wasn't getting any feedback. I was told that I was going to be a full-time partner. I was going to get options in the company, which would subsidize what I believed, because I believed in the company. I believed that it was going to get to where we needed to be, so I was willing to say, fine, you don't need to pay me anymore. At the time, I was only getting about $3.60 an hour. That's no joke. You would laugh at the amount of money that I was making, but I did this because I saw it as a startup company, and these guys were doing it the same way. I mean, Andrew wasn't taking anything from the organization, so income coming in was not going. There's only basically two paid contractors, and that was Rachel and myself, and that was it. But I believed in the company, I believed in the vision, and I believed in the plan that we had laid out. But it wasn't happening, and it became very frustrating, because I was getting literally one or two After having talked with these guys every day, especially with the coder, who is one of the partners, I talked with him every day, and I considered him, and I still do. I consider them friends. And I would talk with him every day, and we would work on things, and we would just talk about the vision, and it just stopped. He had bought a house, and he was preparing to turn the basement of that house, which was 1,600 square feet of empty basement, to turn that into the CSN studio. Whether they're still doing that or not, I don't know. I'm guessing that they are, and we'll hear an announcement here soon. So he was working on that, and obviously he was doing a lot of the stuff on his own, so that was good, and that took up a lot of his time, so I understood that. Andrew was dealing with Violet in school. For those that don't know, he's still in college, just finishing up, and he's a pretty good student. He's getting a marketing business degree or something like that. So he's obviously putting a lot of time into that, and then into Violet. So it was this weird thing that here we had this great opportunity, and this was going to be the big push, and right at this time there was just no communication. It just was not going to happen. And I expressed my frustration again, to several people. I expressed my frustration to those guys. I'd leave them, Skype messages like, we really need to do this. We really, what's going on? It's getting frustrating. So that went on for a few months, and we had it just felt like, instead of growing pains for CSN, it just felt like we were coasting. And along with coasting, in any company, when you start to coast, you start to forget details. You start to miss things that are important. And there were definitely some mistakes made. I made mistakes. I mean, from the very beginning of working with CSN, I'm sure I made plenty of mistakes, and I made bad calls, and always with good intentions. I really wanted CSN to succeed. I mean, I considered it my baby, even though Andrew started it and everything, and Gordon coded everything. I was putting everything into it. This was my full-time job, and I didn't want to see it die. We had things going, things were happening, events were running. Occasionally, we were still working with developers and running games for their running events for their games, but just there was no connection. You could sense that things were kind of falling apart, and it became very frustrating. Then we started to prepare for Lone Star Clash, and then immediately everyone was back into it. Andrew was back on it. Gordon was still working on the house, but he was a little bit more available. And so, I was told, okay, drop everything, worry only about Lone Star Clash. So we were working directly with TESPA on this, and it was CSN's job basically to get the players to use our reach within the community to work on those things. And then my job was to try to find additional sponsors for the event, help with whatever scheduling, administrative, and logistics things that needed to be done. So we went to Lone Star Clash, and it ran really well. I showed up on a Tuesday, and it didn't even begin until Saturday. And it's probably a good thing that I did, because I've been a carpenter in the past. So, these little side jobs that I've had in the past kind of helped in this case, because the staging needed to be redone, and the person that was doing it was not able to do it. She was very, very busy with school, and it just kind of popped up on her, and she wasn't able to do it. So I was there to help with the staging and everything. We got everything going. We put a lot of work into it, and I thought in the end it went really well. I think a lot of people did. I mean, again, I think we had 48,000 concurrent viewers at some point. It was another well-ran Lone Star Clash with a lot of people putting a lot of effort into it. I took this opportunity at Lone Star Clash, since I'd been there since Tuesday, and put a lot of work into the staging and things like that, and getting that stuff set up. I actually took this as an opportunity to, at this time, sit back a little bit more, because these guys basically had a handle on it. They were doing really well with their things, and it really wasn't my job, to always have my hands dirty and everything. And so I took a lunch with Chris Chan, who's my co-host. He actually flew into to Austin to come to the event. And the reason I'm telling this, you'll understand here shortly. But I took a little more time for myself in this case, which still at the same time I was very busy, up late nights working on staging and doing other things. So it wasn't as if I wasn't working, but I wasn't there 24/7. I mean, and for them to rely on me 24/7 would make sense. I mean, they've done this before; they're very good at it. Anyway, so after Lone Star Clash, I got a message that Andrew and Gordon wanted to meet with me, and at this time I was excited. I thought, okay, this is great. Now we're going to start to push out this plan. We'll start to really lay out the groundwork for where we're going to be. The idea was to be by May to have our premium content ready to go, so that we could start to get premium users on our website, whether it be for like $1.95 a month, where they could get premium content and access to additional tournaments and things like that. It was really the original idea. So I really thought that was what this conversation was going to end up being about, and it wasn't. It wasn't at all. What it was I was told that there was going to be a new direction for CSN, that it was going to be media centric, that the idea was going to be more player management and media. They were not going to run any more events. And I was floored. And at the same time, I thought, well, that doesn't matter. I mean, I can still be a part of this. That's great. I mean, if that's what the direction that Andrew wants to go, then I'll put 100% into doing that. But basically, I was let go. I was told we don't need you. We don't need the services that you offer. Even though I was just as involved with all the media side of things as anyone, and easily could have helped in that area. But basically, they needed my monthly salary to put everything towards the media, because funding was running out. It was going to end. And they wanted to put everything behind it. So it's not that I didn't understand that, but I sensed that there was something more to it. And there certainly was. Some people that I considered to be my friends basically stabbed me in the back, and they no longer even talk to me. They wanted to be in the position that I was, or felt that they could do it differently or better for less, a few $100 a month or something like that. That's really there was that, and and they would share with Andrew and Gordon that things weren't going well. And of course, things weren't going well. I was getting zero support. There was nothing happening. Not everything was going well. So, and I make no bones about it. It definitely wasn't a good situation after QuakeCon. There's just things were not happening. And I fought for it. I fought for my job. I said, hey, listen, just let's get through December. I mean, if you're going to give me a severance pay, which pays me through December, let me stay on and use this next 2 months to really make things happen. Let's see if in the next 2 months we can get to a point where you can see the vision and you can see where we're going to go with this, and we can start to get the premium content ready. But I kind of sensed that it wasn't even going to happen. That wasn't going to happen. That there was a lot more to this, and that there was something going on, behind my back. And I did later find out that they were setting up Skype conversations and voting on whether or not they wanted to keep me around. So it was all very unprofessional. It was backstabbing. It was, nobody ever came to me to ask me, about situations that that these guys brought up that were apparently, issues on my side, but nobody came to me. Nobody said anything to me. I would have given them Skype conversation after Skype conversation showing that I was handling things, that things were taken care of, that whatever they were claiming was not the case. And so it kind of was a snowball effect of this constant, keeping, marks on my performance, which granted, there was not much performance to be had because there was nothing going on. I was getting zero support. So that's the true story. I mean, I make no bones about it. That's what happened. And whether people want to, read into it or think that, if they want to ask around and say, well, what did he do? I'll gladly share all of the Skype conversations that I put together that show exactly that what I'm saying is the truth, and that a lot of what was being said or done behind my back was completely unprofessional and mostly bullshit. So I moved on. I said at that point, that's fine. They tried to screw me over on the original amount of money that I was told that I would be paid. They told me that I wasn't allowed to say anything disparaging against the company in a public forum. So this is officially the first time that I ever said anything that probably is disparaging. And knowing that, I know that they're going to claim that they don't have to pay me the rest of the money that they owe me. But it's not going to stop me from going after it. Because it's important. It's a matter of principle in this case, because regardless of the fact that I considered them friends, regardless of the fact that I considered CSN to be my baby, and all of the work that I put into it, when you say something, and you put a contract out, I mean, they sent me a contract, this is your going away contract. This is your severance contract, and they haven't honored it. And it's very frustrating, again, because I considered them friends and everything, and I still do. I'm not angry, but it's the principle of things that this sort of stuff is sometimes swept under the rug. Like, let's just not make a big deal about it. Let's not bring it up into the community because it makes our community look bad. And to a point, I believe that, and I've said in the past about things like that. There was issues with Destiny, and there was people calling the sponsors directly. I don't agree with that. And I've said before, because it gives us it gives the community a bad name, and it makes sponsors look at us like, why would I get myself into this? So I don't even know where I was going with that, to be honest with you. I lost my train of thought. But basically, I think it's important that these things are exposed, yeah. so that others in the excuse me.
No problem.
So that others in the excuse me.
No problem.
If you can just cut that out. Excuse me.
No problem.
It's important that things like this are exposed, so that others in the community don't fall into the same trap. I'm kind of a guinea pig for that. I've been around for 13 years in the community. I'm guys like Marcus and DJ Wheat, they've had the same things happen to them. And the idea is that if we can learn from the experiences that some of the people like myself that have been in this community for a long time, then we can not repeat them. But this sort of shit continues to happen in the community with teams, with player contracts, with people really always fighting, to have their own and to take from others, and it's pretty ridiculous. Again, I'm not bitter. I'm hurt, and I'm willing to stand up for principle, and I think that's important. But there's still people, and they said it was a business decision, and I can respect that. I don't think it was a fair business decision, and I don't think it was the right one. And if and then I find out that they are still planning on running events and stuff. So again, just a lot of it was just unprofessional. It wasn't handled very well. And I held up my end of the bargain, and was very accommodating with not saying anything about it. But yet at the end, I still get screwed. And but it is what it is. And now I've got a lot of opportunities coming up, and it's one of those things where it was kind of like a silver lining. It may have been a good thing that happened.
Sure, go ahead.
Real quick,
John. Just so I can so I sort of understand the story at least from your perspective, and that is that you gave us a lot of backstory before you told us about the most recent events, and so it
Right.
sounds like in the moment when it happened, it sort of caught you by surprise. But that looking back, there were a lot of 2020 hindsight. There were a lot of things that sort of you could point to and look at that clued you off after the fact.
Yeah,
The things
absolutely.
were okay.
I could have. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the reason for the backstory was to be completely honest about some things that happened.
Yeah,
That they used a lot of these things looking back as marks against me or reasons that things weren't going in the direction that they wanted to. But ultimately, I put together a 4-page PDF file with Skype conversations and timestamps and things that were told to me and that just never transpired and that refuted all of the little marks that they had put on me. And really, the only reason that they were doing that was maybe because they started to see that that wasn't the direction they wanted to go. And I can respect that, completely respect that. If they didn't want to go that direction, they actually should have done this earlier. They should have said this wasn't the direction that we wanted to go or that we want to go now, and we want to move in a new direction. And they should have done that. That would have been the right thing to do. But they didn't do that. They kept holding on and basically left me to, my title was director of operations, so I handled pretty much the everyday stuff. Um, and they let me continue to do that um, without any input, without any support, without letting me know that you know this was an issue or they felt like this was something they didn't want to do or did want to do. There was just nothing.
right.
Uh, and it kind of all snowballed. And at the end of it, I think it just compounded. And they're like, well, this just isn't working. But they didn't look back. They didn't think to ask me. They didn't look over the entire situation. And they made a decision kind of rash and boom, that was going to be it.
Right.
It is what it is. So
Yeah. Well, can I ask you because you're talking, you brought up at the end of the story there, at the end of the recollection that um, that there was a difference between say this event and the reason you're talking about the reason you're sharing this than say some of the stuff that's happened with Destiny and some of the controversy over that. And one of the things you pointed to was this idea of learning from our mistakes and sort of learning from our collective mistakes and moving forward as a community. So looking back on what happened, what would you say what could the community change? What could we do differently that would have prevented this or make sure stuff like this doesn't happen in the future?
well, really, really, it's a matter of just being more business
Mm.
savvy and being more business-like. Um, Esports has always been about relationships, friendships, who you know. It's been about some 15-year-old kid who makes a website and says, I'm going to run gaming events from my website, or people putting blogs out and then saying, hey, I can turn this into something that makes money. And especially now when everyone thinks that there's so much money flowing through esports and they can get their own, I can do this or I can do that. And with streaming coming in, everyone's a superstar. So with all of that, that's great and that's fine. And that's actually just part of growing pains in a new industry. So probably the biggest lesson that we can learn looking back, looking at my situation specifically, looking at things that have happened with all of that Destiny's done with teams and broken promises, is we need to get a little bit more business-minded people into this industry that are willing to put business practices in place that can hold up against these sorts of things and can do it over time, and we can start to have things. Kind of a structure, a business structure in place, let alone the things that I've talked about in the past about the other sort of structure. But we need a very serious business structure in this industry. And I was telling you guys before we started this conversation that I put my name out there, my resumes out there to some very big companies that were looking for experienced esports managers, and my bio is chocked full of experience. And personally, I can't think of one that failed. Not that they were all great, not that they didn't have some of their own issues, but anytime that I'm doing something like that, I put 100% into it. I mean, it's my passion, so I'll put 100% of effort into it, and I've done a lot of it. So why I haven't even gotten a call back, and I'm not the only one. I mean, but again, this goes back to the point that there just doesn't seem to me be enough business sense, enough real, like, okay, this is a real industry. This is a real opportunity for businesses to get involved, and just because it's esports doesn't mean they can't still act like businesses. I mean, you would think that you would get at least an email back that says, hey, we're looking over your resume, and twice I've sent things to companies multiple times, and gotten not even a response back. But and I've talked with other people who have sent in for the same thing, and they've never gotten a response back. It's really about who you know in this industry, and that needs to change. It really does. It needs to be about who's the best qualified, and it needs to be more business driven. Because we're just going to run into problems. I mean, you look at Riot, you look at Blizzard, you look at maybe not so much Blizzard, but you look at a lot of these companies that are fully vested in esports, and you'll find that the turnover rate of esports managers, of people that are paid to be a part of the community, those that are running events, even in ASL, the turnover rate is extremely high. It's because people are bringing their friends in. They're not bringing people in that know what they're doing. They're bringing their friends in, like their friend has ran a couple of events, and like, oh yeah, you're perfect for this position. I'll bring you in and pay you $45,000 a year to basically run events and play video games. And what they get is they get somebody who plays a lot of video games, doesn't put a lot of effort into it, doesn't see the big picture, doesn't have the experience, and boom, you have to start over again. And I definitely don't understand.
So where do you see that? I'm curious where you see that change in policy practice coming from. Do you think is it more likely we're going to have to get people from the outside who have that business experience to come in, or that we can teach it? The people on the inside can sort of change their practices.
I think it's a little bit of both, because I'm in a couple Skype channels that are fairly large and full of a lot of people in the industry, and there are a lot of people in this industry that have a lot of skills. There's one channel that I'm in that there's probably 10 people in that channel that could offer a lot of solutions. It could be in very good positions within the industry to do a lot of really good, and they have the experience to do it. There's experienced writers. There's people that know the law, that know business law. There's people that do graphic design. There's a lot of resources in this community that just are getting overlooked, because they're not people that are actively trying to make a name for themselves, and so they're not in the spotlight, and they may not get seen as much as others, and they may not have direct connections with people. Granted, I am the first to admit that relationships are really important. I mean, a lot of what I've been able to do, a lot of the sponsors and the developers that I've been able to bring in, or into this space, into the industry, are because I created relationships with those people. But what needs to be more important is, and it needs to be said to me, if I create a relationship with someone, and I express some opinions or some suggestions or there's some ideas that I come up with, and the company's like, and the developer of the company's like, this is great, these are great ideas, why don't you implement them? If I'm not the right person to implement them, regardless of whether or not I had the ideas, don't hire me. Find someone within the industry that does have that experience, and hire them, so that I can be the idea guy, but I may not be the right guy to implement. And I think what's happening is a lot of that, a lot of relationships that are built, and they're like, well, great, let's bring you on board. I think you can handle this. But to answer your question more specifically, I do think there's a lot of people in this industry that can offer a lot in different resources, and I think they're just getting overlooked. And then I do agree that I think that people from the outside need to be brought in that have a lot more experience in very specific things that need to be changed in esports.
Well, just one more question about this, because I do. One, because of all the vast amount of experience you've had in the over a decade, working in esports competitive gaming, and also because of what happened recently, and you obviously done a lot of thinking about it. With the people who are being overlooked, how do you get them noticed if they're not trying to make a name for themselves, which is the way we do things now? How do you actually get them doing these jobs?
Great. And we didn't plan this for anyone that's listening. We didn't. To ask that, but I have thought about that, and so what I'm doing, which is I'm creating, and I already have the logo done, and I'm starting to create the website now, and it's called Esports Solutions, and that's exactly what this website will do. Is it will be an opportunity to expose. It's not going to expose lower level players. I've done that. I've tried my best to try to get teams and players that aren't nearly as noticed, more awareness, more exposure in the community. This is going to be about the people that really work behind the scenes and do a lot of good stuff, have a lot of experience in different areas, and the website is going to be dedicated to offering the industry a place where they can see those resources, where they can find those resources. So, I'd have a listing of graphic designers that are available. I have a listing of writers, of casters that will go do different games. You'll be able to, hopefully, there will be a lot of development in this. Initially, it'll just be like a 5-page website with a lot of just static information. But eventually, you'll be able to. I'm hoping that you'll be able to sort. You'll have list of maybe 30 casters that do different things, and if your organization, your event needs a caster, instead of always relying on this guy that I know and he knows this guy, you can come directly to the website. You can find a lot of resources for a lot of different things, writers, casters, graphic designers, and administrators, event admins. That's always a big one. Events go to run an event, they got one guy, and they're like, man, I could really use some help, but I don't really know anyone else in the StarCraft community that runs events. Who could help me? Well, you can come to Esports Solutions. You can go to event admins. You can search by StarCraft 2, and you can see a list of maybe 10 guys that have ran events in StarCraft and can be a resource for you, and you can contact them directly. And most of these guys, most of the resources will be volunteer, but there may be some guys, and I don't know if I'm going to feature those guys. Like, those guys will have a picture, or in a box. But there may be some guys that charge. But that's not between me. That's between the person looking for this resource and that person. But this is an opportunity to get a lot of these resources to the forefront of the rest of the community. And no matter what the game is, no matter what the situation is, if you need somebody that can handle streaming, instead of searching around and just blindly looking for someone, you can go to Esports Solution and find someone that does streaming. So that's what I'm setting up, and I hope to have at least most of the website done within the next 2 months.
My next question was going to be, what are you doing now? And I didn't realize I had the perfect segue. Can I ask? It sounds like it's a lot like, I think, like Linked, sort of the professional version of Facebook, where you've got this huge community and everyone has a resume that you can look up. Right. That's sort of this, but for esports.
LinkedIn, in a sense, but more so, not a connection between individuals, but a website that offers services. So, there may be even like a Craigslist aspect to it. Look at all these people that have leftover headphones or mouse and keyboards that they don't use anymore. It would be that could be another option. So it's basically just this huge resource hub where people can just see all of these people and all of these resources and pull from them.
When you say it and articulate it as clearly and well as you do, it sounds so obvious to me. We're always talking about, again, coming myself, maybe from the StarCraft 2 community, we're always talking about technology and all the things, all the different ways we can do with overlays and quick, instant replays and So with all this talk about technology, I can't believe we don't have anything like this already. But we don't. I mean, this is a resource we don't have.
I think we've relied on Skype, we've relied on our relationships, and things have been growing so fast that it's really when it grows like this, when it grows fast like this, it just seems like everyone's in it. Like, oh, everyone has a chance, everyone has an opportunity. But the truth is, not everyone has an opportunity. Some are socially available. They don't have necessarily the social skills, or they don't know where to start. But there's so much going on. There's so much opportunity. Well, how do we get all of those resources together so we can better organize our efforts and better organize those resources to get them out there within the industry and get them working? I'm completely surprised that it hasn't happened before. But I think about it though, it's somewhat of a selfless project, because it's not about me. It's about helping those in the community that do have the resources that are not getting the exposure. And with so much money flowing through in this industry, well, not so much, but there's money flowing through the industry, and people looking around and seeing other people make money, it's easy to just be in it for yourself. And I think this is an opportunity to help a lot of people that have those resources that just don't get the exposure.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting the way you say it, because in many ways I'm just sort of going through the idea in my mind, and it's like, as if I were a user of the site and needed, for example, needed to find a caster, and I rely on the site regularly. It's different than, like, trying to think of another example. Like, it's different than CSM, where I go to CSM, the website, to get in a tournament. You're sort of the middleman,
Mm-hmm.
and people sort of pass you by to get somewhere else. So you aren't able to really. It's more difficult to make a name for yourself. You're not the point of the whole thing.
No, and the point isn't for me to get anything out of it. I mean, granted, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. My name will be on there. My service is available as well. But I'm working with another company right now on contract, so this resource, eSports Solutions, is not set up for me to make money from. It's really just set up to do exactly what I said it is to do, and that is to share resources.
Now, how many? Is it just you working on the project, or how big is the crew?
Right now, it's on the project to get it started. Sometimes I find that that's like the easiest thing to do is for one person to create an idea, outline it, and then bring others in to tweak. Just in my conversations and just trying to get things done, sometimes you find when you get a bunch of people offering a bunch of ideas, you really get nothing done, because it's just everyone offering ideas. It's better sometimes just to have one person who outlines maybe their idea or ideas they've taken from others, and just outline it, get it all ready to go, and then bring others in to tweak it. And because now you've already got something in front of you started. So I'm hoping, obviously, that others will want to get involved and they'll offer solutions, and maybe I'll get some people to help me. I'm hoping, the crappy thing is that I'm designing the website, so I'm actually coding it myself, and I'm learning to do it on my own. I am taking a class as well, about HTML and CSS, just basic web design stuff. I've done this before, I've created websites, but I'm also doing graphic design, and then I'm going to go out and find all the information for people. But when I get to a certain point, obviously it'd be very important for me to pull on these resources myself. So if there's a graphic designer that's willing to help me, if there's someone that that wants to help me with the development of the website, if there's somebody that wants to go out and do some of the dirty work, which is going out and finding people and getting their information, getting their name, getting their usernames in different games, what resource can they offer? I would gladly take any help that I can get doing it. But initially, it's just me getting it started.
So.
I have one thing to add quickly.
Yeah.
It sounds like EMG happened about a year ago, and it seems kind of funny that we kind of skipped that step. So we have the very specialized sort of talent agency, but we've sort of missed this big
We have.
sort of baseline like
So
resume
much.
website, basically.
We completely missed that, and I missed it too, because there was just so much going on. And of course, I had my own contract with CSN, so I was doing my own thing. Now, during that, all of the admins that were supporting CSN, I was always, and they'll tell you, I was always about finding ways to get them, paid or product or something for their services, because as we all know, most of us in this industry do this voluntarily because we rely more on our passion than we do our business sense. And now it's probably time that we start to think of this industry as more of a viable business. And in order to do that, we need to find ways for more people to make money doing what they're good at. And we have to, and we've talked about this on my show as well, is we have to find a fine line where we say, okay, my service is probably worth some money now. My service is of value, and I need to find an organization or a company that's willing to pay me to do it. Or if you're going to ask me to do it, I'm going to ask that there's something being returned. So I think we need to get to that point. But I agree, we completely skipped that whole this part of it. We've gone from everyone just doing things for themselves, and if you can find a way in the door, we're pushing ourselves in, and those that can't, or those that may not have all the time in the world to do it, they're just not doing it, and they're just sitting on the sidelines, to very specialized management group that just specializes in some of the top names. We've missed everything in between, and to me, everything in between is bigger than just a few select people, and I've always been about that. So,
well, can I ask real quick just a little more about the process? Once website is up and is running, you talked about you going to find the information yourself or getting someone to help you get people's contact info and what they can offer. Will that be the way it usually is, or will people be able to sort of sign up for a website and put their own information and list themselves?
that would be another option as well. So you'll be able to come, kind of like a job board or an interview, a place where you put resumes. So
Yeah.
you'll actually be able to come to the website, and you'll be able to submit yourself for consideration into whatever category it is. So if because it's not like, we're going to get a full list of people that we already know. Again, friendships, relationships. We're going to get a list of a lot of those people that we already know that are doing these things. But let's say there's another graphic designer out there who I don't know about, and it's true, I don't know all of them. I maybe only know 3 of them, and I know there's probably 50 people that are doing graphic design for websites and stuff, some of which are probably getting paid, but again, they're freelancers. So why not get their name out there to other opportunities? They don't have to do it. They don't have to go scrounging around to find people to do it. Sure enough, they can come to the website. They can say, hey, this is interesting. I'd love to have my name on this website. What do I need to do it? And basically, they can submit their information, and they say, these are the categories that I best fit into, and we'll put them into the website. Now, whether there will be any sort of charge for that, whether there will be a charge for using the services, I don't know. I'm not worried about how it's going to be monetized, or if it even is going to be monetized. Really, this is all about a resource page.
One other thing, because I know, and this is, I know things are still in the works right now, and not everything is set, and you talked about the versatility of the site earlier with the Craigslist possibility, but most of the things we've been talking about now about the site have been individuals putting their information up or getting their information put up, and then tournaments or events, going and contacting using the site to contact them. And so the events being the active participants. Do you see it also the other way around, where events will be able to list things and say, here's what we need, and so people will be able to say,
Have,
okay.
help, like a help wanted section.
Yeah.
People.
Okay.
This is what we're looking for. Now, this may not be initially, again, it'd probably be like a 5-page site initially with just static information. This is the resources that we currently have, and then we can build off of that. Yeah, absolutely. Events will be able to come and list their event and the needs that they have for that event. And then others on the website can, that are already on the website can connect directly to those events. It'd be cool, and I'm thinking as we're talking about it, but let's say an event comes and they put their information in and you're on the website like a LinkedIn, where you can now connect directly to that event and you can put a submission in, and, they list an opportunity for a graphic designer for, 20 hours of work. And I'm a graphic designer on the website. I see it. I see the post. I can just click on it and submit what I have in the website directly to them, instead of them having to search through it and find those that are interested. The interested can just basically contact them directly.
Yeah. It's, in many ways, it sounds so simple, but it's so useful and it's so practical in many ways.
Well, and you know what? If it doesn't take off, if it doesn't become this great, wonderful website in the industry, it doesn't matter. Because if I've been able to help just 10 people find opportunities, then awesome, then great for them. It's how I've gotten into different positions. I got into the CSM position because 2 people, after I left ESL, 2 people knew that I was no longer with ESL. They knew that CSM was looking to basically take off with their website, and they suggested me. So even though I've said, even earlier in this conversation, that we need to get away from it being all about, friendships, it's still very much important. But we can't be friends with everyone. This is like a resource site that allows us to be friends with everyone in the community, or at least visits the website. And if more and more people visit the website, you are exposed to more and more opportunities to create those relationships with people that would allow you to get opportunities. And that's really the idea.
That makes perfect sense. And it's interesting because just to sort of the riff, there's one of the, seems like the long-standing difficulties a lot of people in the StarCraft community have been saying is that there's oversaturation of all these different things, and one of them being casters and streamers, and so the people I keep hearing often it's so difficult to break in or get myself known because I don't have these connections, and it's this would be a really great resource where it's you don't have to know someone to stand a chance at being able to show what you're able to do. It's really interesting.
When you say you don't have to know someone to stand a chance, truth is you're still going to have to work at it. But now your name is there and it's associated with the resource that you offer, and somebody can come along and say, I don't know who this person is, but this website has recommended them for this resource. I'm going to contact them, and then again, it's still going to be the responsibility of the person that has put their name out there as a caster, let's say, to create that relationship with percent. Now, the website may have maybe, and this is another additional resource, is that the website's going to have resources that are static, that are not humans, that are not people. For instance, you'd be able to go to the website and get information on how to create a sponsorship template. Sorry about the dog, by the way. Sponsor, or how do I create a marketing deck? Well, here are some resources. Here's an example. So there will be a lot of that as well. Again, the dog's screaming.
Not a problem. Nothing wrong with the dog barking. Well, except at the middle of the night. But it's daytime, so we're good.
Just the thing about the marketing deck. It's actually surprising how difficult it was for me to find out about that in the first place. I think it was an episode of what was that thing Chobo Peon did with Jason Lake, the executives? It was like an episode of that, and that's the first time I'd ever really heard the term. And like before that, I'd like looked for sponsors and asked people how to do that, but like it's surprising how hard that is to find out.
Into these shows where they have these episodes, and the deck was great for that, because that episode specifically, they basically laid out and showed off the Check 6 marketing deck, which in my opinion, of all the marketing decks I've seen, and I've seen the EG marketing deck, I've seen several others, the Check Six marketing deck was even better than the one that CSN created. We kind of did it in a hurry and put it together. It's pretty nice. I think it's like 13 pages of PDF files. But the Check Six marketing deck was excellent, and it's an excellent example of things that are required. Again, it takes a lot of work. So one guy sitting down, like for yourself, Gimbal, says, well, man, I can read that. Where am I going to get the graphics done? And I don't have anyone to write this copy for me. I don't quite know what to say. Thank you, Check Six, for showing me the marketing deck. But now you've shown it to me, I really don't know where to go with it. I don't know where to find a graphic designer. I don't know somebody that knows how to write copy for things like this. Well, stay on the website, because now that we've shown the template, you have all these resources around you that you can use.
Sorry about that phone going off. But...
No problem. You've cut out for John.
Yeah,
You've cut out for now.
John, you just cut out for a sec.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Yeah.
I was saying this is a very casual conversation, so things like this are going to happen. This is fine.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, doing this from my bedroom. I mean, it's not like we're in a studio with 10,000 live viewers. So
Not yet, right?
not yet indeed. One day. Gimbal, are there any other questions you had about about what we've talked about so far? Because I have just one other, but it was sort of more general, and I wanted to save it till last.
I think any questions I would have, I'd have to see more of the website, actually functioning before I could ask more. But the concept sounds good.
Input is good because you guys are in that position where it would be a website that you could actually use. So how best can you use it? I mean, I'm not the best at user interfaces and website flow. I've done a lot of it, and I've seen a lot of it, and I'm learning. So it's always good to get input from people that are the actual users. Like, okay, great, my name's on here, but I'm not getting anything out of this. What if you did this? What if you did, invite a friend or follow someone or, nifty little Facebook type things? I don't know. I don't know what it is, but there's going to be something, hopefully, that, again, if it just gets 10 people more exposure and they have more opportunity and they're able to do what they want to do within the community, within the industry, then great. If 100 people get something out of it, then wonderful. But at least it will be there. And if someone comes along and does it better, it's exactly what we need. We need that competition. We need someone else to say, hey, what a great idea, but I really think I can do it better. And then go do it and do it better, because it's something we need. Regardless of whether it's me doing it or someone else is doing it, it's something this industry needs, or we're all going to just be floating along paycheck to paycheck, most of us. I mean, there are obviously some people that make a lot more money. We're all just going to be floating from paycheck to paycheck. We're going to live off of our passion more so than anything, and the industry itself is not going to grow. It's not going to become sustainable, and then we'll just people will just drop like flies eventually. They'll just drop out of it. New people will come in, and it will just continue to be this big mess of volunteers and people making, money paycheck to paycheck and moving on. And we don't want that.
No, but I mean, I think I'm really, I think this idea really excites me, because I know Gimbal's the same way. We have a lot of friends who are smaller time writers or casters who have some experience, who have done some events, but still whose names are not that well known, who have trouble getting new gigs or coming to events and getting being able to successfully promote themselves. And so the idea that there could be a resource here that might help them do that in a way that is a little more organized than just sending out a bunch of emails and hoping someone responds,
right,
is really, really promising.
And here's the thing, too. Even sending out emails doesn't mean you'll get anything back. I have a professionally created resume. I used to be an IT recruiter, so it was my job to look at resumes every day. And my wife works at the second largest IT recruiting firm in the world. So she looked at my resume, even though I thought it was good. She's been doing it a lot longer than I have. She looked at my resume. She was able to create a very professional-looking resume with a bio page and everything. There's people in this industry that have no clue about those sorts of things. So where do they get those resources? I mean, sure, you can Google, and you're going to get a lot of information from Google, but are you going to get esports specific information? Are you going to get, you know, when I send an email out, how should it look? What should it say? And when should I follow up? And if they do respond, what should I say? These are things that people don't know. And we could have shows like The Executive or like my show, Climbing the Ladder, and we could discuss these things, but it's a very one-off thing. I mean, if you don't tune in, you miss it.
Right.
And it might be there for a resource to come back. You know, the VODs are available. But it may be easier if we just create a website where, boom, there's a template right there for you. You know, if you want to create a professional marketing deck, these are the elements that you need in it. This is what it probably should kind of look like. If you want to send an email, here's an example email that was sent. Here's my experiences with dealing with developers, and maybe other additional comments can be added. You know, maybe other people can contribute to the conversation. Like, well, when I contacted someone, this is how it worked for me. And you can pull off of these resources, and people can be better at what they're doing. And instead of relying on passion, they can rely on a business sense, a real, true business sense. And maybe part of that is my experience with CSN is like, if you're going to sign a contract with someone, make sure the dates at which you're going to get paid are in that contract. Make sure that the amounts are in that contract. Make sure that the severance information is in that contract. This is an example of a proper contract, and don't sign anything if it says this. You know, these are things that should be in our industry. This is business stuff. If that's the right word, stuff, I guess. This is business, should be in our industry, and it's just not. It's floating around out there, but it's not connected and put together in one resource center.
I really like the idea of having a lot of that information compiled in one place. So that, again, I'm not having to float to 30 different websites, and I'll have just bits and pieces of what I need. But you're talking about an esports specific location that if I ever need to do any of these things, you know, I can get those answers, and I can get those answers for the specific industry I want to go into. So it's a really good idea.
Well, thank you. That, you know, I hope that I get a lot of support to make it happen, and it's going to happen. There will be a 5-page, and I'll tell you why, because it's part of my class website. So I thought, well, why not just create this one? This is one I wanted to create. I'll just the class to create it, and so you will see a 5-page static website with resources on it. And I'm hoping that once that's created, people will look at it and say, wow, let's do this, let's do that, I'll help you with this, and we'll go from there, and we'll make it bigger and better.
Perfect. Well, can I ask you first, is there anything else you know, about the site, about the CSN that you want to touch on?
No, not really.
Okay.
I do want to say, again, I want to make it perfectly clear. I considered CSN my baby. I created I redesigned the logo. I helped create the website. I put the features into the bracket, and I loved it, and I still love it. I really, I consider all those guys my friends, even the ones that stabbed me in the back and haven't said a word to me since then. They're just, most of them are just young and dumb, but it is what it is, and I don't want to bash on CSN. I think they're doing great things, and I hope they do. I've even suggested a few new ideas for them, because I want to help support the growth of esports, and if they felt that it was the right decision, then that's what they felt. I don't want to see them die. I don't want to see them crash and burn at all. That would just be stupid. That'd be like shitting on my own baby. I don't want to do that. I want to see CSN be a success, and if it's going to be a success in a different market, then good for them, and I wish them luck. So, plus, great things have happened for me since then anyway. So, I've got a new contract with a new company that shares the same vision, and the website is amazing, and it's more of a bottom-up approach and less about the media and me stuff. So I'm excited.
Well, I have one last question. This may be like a 40-minute answer, but it's the broad one. But you've been talking the last, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes or so, we've been focusing on the site, on one of the weaknesses of the community, that you feel like you can really bridge, fill that gap and really fill a role that hasn't been done yet. So I'm curious if there are any other areas that you feel like the community is really, really weak in, or that we're particularly strong in.
Well, one that we're definitely weak in, and on my last show we actually had two good. James Harding, of course, who has his own show, which is a great show. When you get him away from kind of the antics that they pull on his show, he will tell you. Him and I think a lot alike in that what's missing is this. We have concentrated, and I've said this before, we have concentrated so much on the top half, not even the top half, the top 1% of gaming and gamers and personalities and role models in this community and in this industry, that what we've missed on and our biggest weakness is we have forgotten the other 99% of gamers and viewers and fans, those that support the 1%, those that support the EGs, those that support Riot. Those are the people that we should be communicating better with, that we should be offering more of our services to, that we should be focusing on, because they're the ones that, as the games kind of lose their luster and a new game comes up, as companies struggle financially and die off, these are the ones that the 99% of the people that will continue to keep esports alive and will continue to help us grow. And if we don't concentrate on them, it's like cutting the legs out from underneath our table. We might have the coolest tabletop. It might be made of marble, but we don't have any legs to stand on. And if we don't have those legs to stand on, that table will just fall and break. And it's happened before. And I've said I think that there are signs that it's going to happen again, and I don't want that to happen. So that gap is the bottom 99% of the community that supports the top 1%. We need to concentrate on them.
Can you give me an example of sort of both one of the ways in which we are focusing all of our attention on the 1%, and one of the way and then a way we could be focusing more on the 99% that would keep them engaged?
And it's getting better, but a lot of the tournaments that are running now, a lot of the live tournaments that we're running, it's getting better. I can say that. Was that the concentration was on the invites. The concentration was on making sure that, this player, that player, and that's fine. That's completely acceptable. They have a product and a brand that they're trying to expose to the community, and they're obviously trying to make money, because most of those guys are running businesses. They're running real businesses. Granted, not getting replies back after you send in a resume twice, that's not very businesslike. But they're still running businesses, and they have a bottom line, right? One thing that they were failing at was offering an open component to their tournaments, allowing the community and the players and that 10-year-old kid that's a phenom that we don't even know about yet, giving them an opportunity to shine and be a part of the big picture, and to have their name in lights because they deserved it, because they earned it, because their results showed it. We didn't have a lot of open component. We also had the case in which you have ESL, IPL, DreamHack, and MLG all fighting within the same space. I've said this before. It's like a pie, and we have this little small pie. It's a really small pie, actually. Esports is a small pie, and everyone's trying to get their piece of it, right? But by doing that, all we're doing is shifting around who gets the bigger piece within that small pie. Now that we're starting to see like MLG and DreamHack and ESL work together, we're going to make that pie bigger. And so now, even if we're fighting within the same space, we all have a little bit bigger piece of it, or there's at least an opportunity for us to have a bigger piece of a bigger pie. And so we're starting to see change in that, and that's really good. Before, it was really all about my brand, how to increase my brand within the space. I don't care about anyone else. I'm going to shit on them. I'm going to invite all the top players on the same weekend that another event's happening. I'm going to pay them more so they come to my tournament and not the other tournament. And that's not helping build esports. Now, I am not I'm not a socialist, so I don't believe in that idea of, like collective spreading the wealth to a point. But in a business sense, I mean, and I've used this analogy before. It's like McDonald's sets up on a corner. Why do you think Burger King sets up on the other corner and Wendy's sets up right behind them? Why do you think that happens? It's because they know if all three of them are there, then there's going to be more and more traffic to that area for you to find a place to eat. These are all fast food joints, right? So there's a greater opportunity that you're going to get more people into the space. You're going to get more people eating. Now, whether they choose McDonald's, Wendy's, or Burger King, it doesn't matter. You now have more people in it, and you have an opportunity to pull on more of those people. So I'm very much a capitalist, and that I think that everyone should be fighting for their own. But if we work together at the same time, we can grow that space a lot faster, and we can grow it more sustainable, and we'll have some legs to stand on, and we can grow from that. That's what we've done poorly at the top. That's examples of people basically only looking out for themselves and only worrying about the 1%. I mean, all of the money, I mean, even the events themselves pay out. It almost, the payout almost is a perfect example of where we put our focus, and that is at the top. And hey, don't get me wrong, you want to reward the Super Bowl winner or the team that wins the EPL or the World Cup. They should get most of the glory, right? But if you're going to have 400 people sign up for your tournament, at least have your payout structure so that you're rewarding the people that have worked hard to get to a certain level. I mean, if you look at the community, as small as it is, it's much, much smaller on the people that can actually survive making any sort of, living off of being a professional gamer. If we want to support professional gamers, we need to make more of them. And we can't make more of them if we're all fighting and we're all taking just certain players and we're not exposing new players and we're not giving, we're not making it for an open component at each of our events so everyone has an opportunity to get in. A lot of these kids, they don't have money to go to every event, right? So at least the one event that they have an opportunity to go to, make it so that there's an open component to that event. Make it so there's an opportunity for them to get in and rise and shine with their results. So I want to see more of that. I want to see more working together, but at the same time being very competitive, because competition will create better product for everyone. So that's my little political rant there for a minute, my little stance on.
It's a vision for the future, an outline of where we can end up and how we can end up there.
And this is not new stuff. Don't get me wrong. I'm not any sort of pioneer on this. We've thought it for years, but again, people didn't want to do it because they would be basically giving up a little bit of their own branding. They'd be giving up a little bit of their own power, their own reach. But I really do. I believe that people are starting to see it. I mean, the collaboration between MLG, DreamHack, and ESL, which I was completely flabbergasted that MLG wanted to be in it, but I really respect that they did. As much as I have ranted on MLG and the way that they've done things over the years, and it's always been about their brand, it really is refreshing to see, and I believe that there are people in the industry that do see the bigger picture. They do say, we've had $50 million pumped into our product, and we're not going to get to a point where we can be self-sustainable by just doing things the way we've done it for the last 10 years. It hasn't worked. I mean, it's worked to a point. People keep investing into the company, but now how can we get to that next level? So I think that it's very impressive that they want to be involved in this collaboration. I think this collaboration is a very good thing. I think it can be. I haven't seen anything from it yet, but I think we will. I think we'll see at least some sort of unified schedule. We'll see, and I have ideas for all of this. I've actually started drawing some of it out because I want to put together a PDF file, which is my vision, like my idea of the perfect circuit. Where these three collaborate on their schedule, they collaborate on a ranking system, and they have a grand final at the end where all three of them use the resources. I mean, think about that. It doesn't make sense. It's like NASCAR. NASCAR has teams, and they have racers that all have their own brands that sponsor them, but the circuit itself is sponsored by bigger brands. It's sponsored by separate brands, right? Well, why not these three organizations working together to create this circuit where they can use all three of their reach and their marketing power to go out and find bigger and bigger sponsors? Imagine, Nike or Coca-Cola being approached by not just MLG on its own, not just ESL on its own, but all three coming together and saying, this is a full circuit. This is what you're going to get out of this. As a circuit sponsor, you're going to get 9 events across 3 different organizations. You're going to get X number. You're not going to get the viewers that MLG would get. You're going to get the viewers that DreamHack and ESL and MLG have, and you're going to get it across the board. I don't know. It just makes sense to me. Combine your reach and go look bigger. Go look for bigger sponsors to sponsor the circuit. So I'm actually want to draw that out, and I want to release it like as a document, as like my blog or something like that. But again, I have like 50 million things going on, and one thing I need to learn to do better is not butterfly around about them. I need to just concentrate on a couple of them, get them done, and go from there. Otherwise, I get nothing done.
I was gonna say, you are definitely an ideas man, and I do wonder. That was my thought was, how do you get anything done when you have so many different grand visions and plans? It just,
because I hope guys like you then go find somebody and say, hey, let's do that. Yeah. I'm an ideas guy, but but then the problem is that I'm a graphic designer. I have a business and marketing degree, and so there's like all these little different skill sets that I have. And so I end up thinking, well, I'll just do it. And guess what? Then I end up being a lot busier than I should be, and I get less done. So that's definitely one of my weaknesses that needs to be curbed. That's my New Year's resolution, actually, is to slow down and concentrate on a few different things and find people to help, like delegate. I mean, because real leaders delegate, and they know how to delegate, and that's something that I've had to learn too. And some of my guys that have worked with me for 8 years now, that have followed me from from GGL to ESL to CSN and now to my new ventures, they'll tell you the same thing, that I'll have these great ideas and we'll start to put them together, and guess what? I get way too involved with them. Just delegate that shit. Give someone else an opportunity to do it, and don't be afraid of the results, because they can always be changed. So that's definitely something that I have to work on.
Well, I mean, it already sounds like you're doing that, but you are sort of focusing in now and really you making sure that even with all these ideas you just talked about, some of the very grand visions on how we could do things in all different aspects of esports, you are focusing on really trying to knock something out one at a time. So it's,
right.
Yeah.
The 2 main focuses that I have, which is Sports Solutions. I'm gonna let that ring through here. Hold on one second.
No problem.
It's loud and annoying. My wife is supposed to be getting it. The 2 main focuses I have is the Esports Solutions website, which I think will really be of the greatest help to the community for resources. And then the other project, which is a contract position that I have with the International Gaming League, which is IGL, and it's in beta right now. And the website looks great. Basically, and I'll just say it, it's going to be a CSN. It's going to be a competitor to MLG Game Battles, to TWL, to Clanbase, to ESL, to ESEA. It's, in a sense, it's going to be a direct competitor, but the idea behind what IGL is putting out is really concentrating on that 99% that doesn't have the same opportunities. I mean, think about all those players out there that just want to play the game, and they're not concerned whether or not they're on a live stage, or whether or not they're part of some premier level division or something like that. Not that IGL is not going to have that and be able to facilitate that and cultivate that along with the pros. But the idea is really to cultivate the base of gaming and to reach, to actually try to bridge that gap. And I've talked about this before, between this really small esports community and the millions of gamers out there that game and that are competitive, but have no idea that there's esports. They really don't. I mean, bridging the gap between the Facebook gamer and this hardcore esports gamer, imagine doing that, and imagine the influx of people that start to see esports as like, really? I can compete and in a tournament? Didn't even know that existed.
Yeah.
Be surprised at the number of people. So that's the focus at IGL's. If you remember CAL, Cyber Athletic League, back in the day with CPL, that's a lot about the idea is really creating this identity for amateur and advanced and semi-pro and pro players, and giving them all an opportunity to compete within their tier level. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be a really good thing, and it's my thing. I love running leagues. I love setting up league structure and format and coming up with new ways to create a lot of activity within a community that maybe, for instance, you go to the Game Battles ladders right now and you'll find a ladder that has 2,000 Call of Duty teams on it and only 10 of them are active. It's ridiculous. That's a waste. There's all of these teams that are created and all these teams that play. But there's no systems in place for them to really compete and kind of move up different tiers and get to a point where they can be inspired to be professional gamers. Because right now it's just 4 guys put a team together and they think they're awesome. They go play on the ladders, they get their asses smoked a couple times, and guess what? They don't play anymore. How about we fix that? How about we give them an opportunity to go play? They get to compete against players and teams against their own skill level. They start to improve. They get better. They move up a tier. They're in a new active tier that's of higher skill. They continue to improve. They get better. They get to the top, and then boom, now they're a team that can compete at the MLGs, the DreamHacks, and stuff like that. And it's real structure. It's real growth from the bottom up.
Kimball, do you have anything else? Any other questions you want to ask?
I think we're good. We've gone quite a bit over, I think, so.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me. I figured I'd stop now, because otherwise I'm gonna get into asking about your thoughts on tournament structure and ladders and how you're gonna set that up, and when everything's released, maybe we can get you back and we'll sort of focus in on that and talk to you about that.
One other thing, it's real quick.
Yeah.
When this show is going to be released, but and so I don't really need to say when, but it's going to happen this week sometime. I actually contacted a local radio station, and it's a talk radio, and it's all politically based a lot of times. And the conversation recently has come up about gun violence and video games, right? And violent video games. And I have an opinion on that, and it's probably political suicide because it's different. It's a different opinion than what most people would think, mainly because I have children. So Jay Wheat, who lives here in Omaha as well, where I'm at, and I haven't actually confirmed with him yet. He's in California, but the talk show host, who's the second most listened to in the Midwest, wants to have us on the show to talk about our opinions and our thoughts on gun violence and video game and violent video games. So I'm actually really excited about that more than anything, because I follow politics. I'm very politically active, and I obviously have no problem sharing my opinions and my thoughts. And I could probably talk more than most people, and I probably shouldn't. So my wife's already warned me, go on, John, don't start rambling on when you get on the show. So I'll have to work on that over the next few days, but I'm really actually excited about that. I think it's interesting because we have a bunch of media talking about video game violence, but nobody's coming to the people that are playing the games competitively and getting their thoughts and opinions on it. And if our community is sharing it, it's really within our own community. So this is an opportunity to share an idea and an opinion, and it may be different. Wheat's may be different than mine, which would be perfect because that creates good conversation and it gives people an opportunity to look at both sides. So I'm pretty excited about that because it's going to be a different reach. And they are on iHeartRadio, so I'll make about the link.
Perfect.
Be able to tune in from all over. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Can I just say, so, again, as an American as well who's been following all this, especially the things that have been happening, and you talked about, I do a local public affairs show on my local radio station, so we've talked about this too, just, in our own community. I just thank you. Thank you for going out to do it, because, regardless of where you stand on it and what your thoughts are, the fact that there's someone, you and we, who are going to be speaking to a community about guns and their connection or lack thereof with video games and violence, who actually plays video games, who can tell me what Halo is, who can tell me what StarCraft is, who knows about Brood War and Counter-Strike and Dota, who sat down and actually
and the
done
difference playing a game where you're a first-person shooter and you're shooting a gun, or the difference between playing StarCraft 2 where you really don't. It's really not about that feeling of. It's about controlling units. I mean, they about the weapon that I'm shooting, and people don't realize that. They see all of this mishmash of people shooting and killing each other, regardless of the fact that they're robots and aliens. They don't even think that way, and they think, well, these guys must be entrenched in this violent video game. But they don't realize that doesn't even touch things like, I just got done playing the Far Cry Semi single player, which, by the way, is one of the best games I've ever played. And all of these other games, they don't touch what I had to do, the stuff that's in Far Cry 3 and the brutality and the gun violence that's in it. They don't even touch it. But we have these people in the media that are outside of our community, that are outside of people that play video games on a daily basis, that just look at the game and go, oh, that's got to be brutal. That's horrible. And so you're right. They don't know the difference between StarCraft 2 and Quake, and the difference between Quake and Far Cry 3, and the difference between that and Plants vs. Zombies. Video games where people are killing each other, and as we know, and as I tell my daughter, it's not killing, it's called fragging. So, but again, that you're going to be, a lot of people are going to be surprised about my stance on it. It's probably not going to make me very many friends, but I'm not out to make friends. I have a different perspective on it because I do have children. And
that's and that to me is even if we just not spoiling everything yet, but so that we can hear it for the first time on the radio, but we very well may completely disagree on this, but the fact that you're someone who comes from a background in which you're immersed in what you're talking about, you have experience in what you're talking about, as opposed to what we've had, which is you're talking about individuals who really aren't part of the community, but are speaking for the community or speaking about the community. That's more frustrating.
About the community, they don't even know what the community is. They just know the.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting because, as much as I play first-person shooters and stuff, I'm going to offer a unique perspective on it, I think.
I am honestly very much looking forward to it, and
I'll make sure that you guys get the link for it.
Perfect. I'm incredibly glad that you and we are stepping up to do this, because we need more people like that.
He's definitely going to be interested. He actually, what's odd is that he used to be on this guy's show, I think once a month, where he did a video games update. Yeah, it was really cool. So he knows. He knows this person. Scott Voorhees is his name. He's the host. He already knows him, but Scott didn't know that we had moved back from California and was now in Omaha. So I just out of the blue, I've been hearing him talk about. I'm like, I'm going to call and see what happens. And he returned my email immediately, which is very businesslike. Immediately, and he said, hey, I'd love to have you guys on the show this week. Can you stop into the place, to the studio around, this week at 10 a.m. one day? And so Wheat gets back tomorrow, and hopefully I'll be able to convince him that I think it's a good thing, and we'll go do it. And I think it's going to be pretty awesome. Even if it's like a 5-minute segment, I think it'd be great to have two people that are in the community, not only in the community, but we have kids, and we both play very violent first-person shooter games.
Right.
So.
Right. And I also like the idea that, as you said, sort of going along with kids, you guys you're not 15 years old. You have a lot more life experience, and so you're sort of outside the.
That's right. We're a little bit out. See, we're in the community, but we're outside the community.
Yeah.
Wheat's got a kid. He's got a house. He's got a wife. I've got all the same. I've got 2 kids. I probably have the oldest kid in the community. I haven't found anyone else. I'm not the oldest, though. That's good to know now. But he doesn't have any kids that I know or that he knows of. But I have a 15-year-old boy who's grown up with video games in front of him, mostly Call of Duty and Quake. So I have a 15-year-old that plays these games that I've allowed to play them, and it's going to be an interesting, perspective on it. Something different. So, but you're right. Even though I'm in the community and I'm very much in the entrenched, and I've been doing it for 12, 13 years or whatever. I have kids and stuff, so I'm outside of the normal demographic. What people look at and say, oh, that's the gaming community.
So I think is perfect for having this conversation, especially people who aren't. Again, you said really don't know the community. You come into the conversation with, I think, a lot more credibility, a lot more authority than, if I were to go speak on, because, I'm a 23-year-old kid. So I just, to wrap it up, I'm just looking forward to it, and I hope
I'll definitely
just hear it.
And, you can put it on the website or whatever, and hopefully there will be I'm sure there will be a recording of it. I think they record shows and they put them on, so we'll definitely get the word out and spread it around to many different communities as we can.
Wonderful. I mean, one of the things, just a side note, one of the things I do hope to do is because I have no doubt it's going to be a great conversation, I'd love to send it to some friends in public radio and say, this is, here's a conversation about gun violence and video games from 2 individuals, or at least one individual who really knows what he's talking about and has a lot of different experiences he's drawing upon to share his thoughts and, see what you think about it. And maybe, I don't know, it's far-fetched, the big thinking, but I would love to see something else, take it further.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Make the conversation bigger.
I'm all about going in front of the Congress and offering my opinions. I don't care. Conversation with the president, or in this case, the vice president. I'd love to have been a part of that little sit-down they had the other day with the NRA and a bunch of individuals and offer up my opinions on how to curb gun violence and how video games play a part or don't play a part in it. And I have no problem. As you guys know, I have no problem speaking. So share it.
Will do. And it's the fact that you have no problem sharing your opinion is one of the reasons we love having you on here. The other reason, of course, is that you're so eloquent. But it's never difficult to get you to say what you think about something. And it's helpful. Let's respect that.
Thank you.
Jim, any last thoughts? Anything you want to add?
I'm looking forward to the discussion. I have to say, you'll have to definitely link that, and when this goes up and when that recording goes up, we'll put it down in the comments below. So anyone watching now, it will be in the YouTube description when it comes up.
Great. I really appreciate you guys bringing me on. I mean, again, this was the first basically interview that I've kind of spilled the beans or the truth a little bit more about what happened with CSN, and obviously you guys are kind of getting the first crack at knowing about the conversation I hope to have on the radio with about gun violence and stuff. So really enjoy coming on you guys' show, and you always give me a little bit more room to talk than other people, so I get to just kind of go, and I love it. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Guys, that was John Clark, who is doing esports, among the many things, is working on esports solutions, and I think, I assume on Twitter you'll let us know when things sort of start to pan out and we can check out the site.
And my just speaking of that, my Twitter account has changed to ES_John Clark as opposed to CSN_ John Clark. So ES is in esports solutions.
So guys, obviously, if you aren't following him, you should be. He's one of many people to really be keeping your eye on and watching, because he has, or I at least feel like he has a real pulse on the community. But again, John Clark, Esports Solutions, thank you so much for an hour plus, whatever it is. It ran over, that's fine. So take care, and guys, don't know, we're not really on a weekly schedule right now anymore. It's sort of, they'll come out when they come out, but we'll definitely let you know when we line up our next guest and we have a chance to talk to them. So thank you for watching.
Thank you.